Hello and welcome back to REV Endurance Sports and another bike profile. This is a giant Revolt. You can see that right there. And I believe this is their gravel bike. Not quite sure how many different gravel models they have. I'm not a giant dealer, so someone can chime in and say they have X, Y, and Z. Maybe they have moderate tire clearance and then a bigger tire clearance. But just the headline news from the top: giant Revolt with a Force, SRAM Force ETAP Access group set, and it has a GX rear derailleur and a 1052 cassette in the back. So we're going to run through it from front to back. I like shooting at the golden hour, as they say, which, we're getting close to that. But unfortunately, that also means it's rush hour traffic. But hopefully you can hear me just fine. So we have some force shifters. We have this Easton Aero handlebar. Now, the customer purchased this bike used. As far as I know, he didn't do any of the spec on it. So this is from a previous a previous owner. I often find it funny to see aero bars on gravel bikes because, well, you're not going that fast. And you're going to have, these big fat tires on them. These are only a 40, but with a lot of the newer gravel bikes now, they have capacity up to 48 millimeter or even 650 with a 2.0 tire. So, you're going to have this massive tire in the front that's going to create an enormous amount of drag, not to mention your body, your helmet, your shoulders, all that stuff sitting on top of the bike. But anyway, so we have this gravel bike with an aero handlebar, and we have this rock form mount, and to me this stem is a little short for this bike, but again, this bike was purchased used, and a gentleman just came in for shifting issues, so we're not going to change anything at the moment. I will have a conversation with him about the stem length, why it's fairly short, but who knows, maybe that's how he's comfortable on this bike. And so we have these massive Enve wheels here, and they are shod with some Maxxis Rambler 700 by 40 tires, and tubeless, and I think it's an appropriate size for a lot of riding. You typically don't need much bigger than that unless it's super rocky or super chunky, or maybe just a lot of sand, and then you'll want a much bigger tire. But a 40, and this gentleman also does a lot of road riding with the bike, so it's not all dirt. All right, so we follow along here. And we're going to have a 1x setup up front. Now, I apologize that I did not count the teeth, and I don't see any etchings on it, but that's your front chainring. And as I mentioned before, it's got a 1052 cassette with a GX Access rear derailleur. So there's plenty of range. The gentleman came in with shifting issues where the back here, either he had a lot of ticking in these two gears. Also in this gear, from what I recall, it just wouldn't, the transition from either up or down just wasn't very good. And then also from the 10 to the 11 tooth cog, a lot of resistance, if you will, it just wouldn't shift. So we got it pretty good. And one of the things that I noticed, not only was the derailleur out of adjustment, but also the beat tension adjustment. Now, I'm not a big fan of one-by drivetrains. I just don't like them. And one of the things, especially for 12-speed, everything has to be perfect for it to shift perfectly. So there is some scratching here on the rear derailleur. So maybe there's an opportunity to replace that hanger. It looks fairly straight, but I did not want to, because I'm not a Giant dealer, I did not want to try to straighten it out in any way, because guess what? Rear derailleur hangers are designed to break. You know, their primary function is to hold that derailleur on, but after that, their 1A priority is to snap and protect the rest of the frame. So we want to make sure that we have a spare hanger on hand. Now, I've done several videos on this channel about, if you are a road cyclist, you should have a spare rear derailleur hanger at home. If you're a mountain bike or gravel cyclist, you should have one in your toolkit, always with you. You could snap one while you're out and about. You could be out in the middle of nowhere, and you'll need to replace that hanger and get back on the road. And as I mentioned, these things will snap. So let's say you're out there, you crash, it bends in, and you're like with your hand trying to straighten it out a little bit so you can at least get some functionality, and the thing can snap on you. So please, if you are a mountain biker or a gravel cyclist, please carry a spare derailleur hanger with you. Okay, so again, a Enve AR wheel in the back, and we have also a 40 tire in the back. I don't know that he's chosen this saddle for any particular reason. As I mentioned, it probably just came with the bike. But one of the first things I noticed was the Ritchey seat post when the bike came in, because I am a huge fan of Ritchey seat posts. And if it comes down to carbon seat posts of what I would trust on my bike, typically the Superlogic componentry, even though I've said many times before that carbon will break. I've got seat posts and stems and handlebars and wheels and frames in my store, like a carbon graveyard, if you will, of so many, and wheels, I don't know if I mentioned that, of things that have snapped. So, but this, when it comes to good quality carbon components, I definitely would say that the Ritchey Superlogic line is very well made. So that is the bike as I see it. It's got flat pedals on. The gentleman this is his second bike. His first bike was a mountain bike hardtail that he bought on clearance, caught the bug, and decided, well, now I want a nice road bike, gravel/road bike. So gravel, I believe, being the primary use of this bike, and then road as a means to connect between one gravel trail and another gravel trail. We are in San Diego, so that's what you have to do to connect dirt to dirt, is you have to get onto the pavement. So I'd like to hear some thoughts. What do you folks think about the build? Also, how many of you own a Giant Revolt? What's been your experience with it? You know, from only just riding it up and down the block just to ensure the shifting worked out, I think it's fine. I think it's a great little bike. Would I own one? Sure. Would I buy one? No, just because I support my own brands. But sure, I'd own one of these. Seems like a great bike. Okay, anyway, that is all for today. If you like these bike profiles, please do a little smiley face in the comments section so I know you watched to the end. And, you know, Please add your comments. Let's make a conversation out of this down in the down in the comments section. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you up the road.